We are live, but we must let it breathe. Hope everyone's doing swell on this Monday evening. We just got to get Facebook in the house and we'll fire this bad boy off. Welcome in. It is the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen, and with me is my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, I don't know. This was a joke that Scott made right before we went live. Russell Wilson's golf cart accident. Was it an accident? Or was it perhaps a disgruntled former coach, sticking a little like knife? Yeah, blame the former strength coach who was the scapegoat to Russ's fail. It's obviously all jokes here, but Zack, what did you make of Russ? Completely unharmed for what it's worth. If anything's hurt right now for Russ, it's just a little bit of his pride after the fact that the story came out 3 or 4 days later. But Russ overturns a golf cart last Thursday.
I'm glad you put the disclaimer that it's just a joke because we mentioned the Lauren Landau boogeyman. We mentioned him by name. We get the trolls coming out, but it may be a banana in the tailpipe, but I feel like it was more just a happy accident where Russ was on the golf course looking for his ball and he didn't see it land in the bunker. And it's actually a fairly common thing. People are going to make jokes that he couldn't see the golf course, like he can't see the field, another arrowhead failure, this and that. It was just an accident that normal people like you, I, and even Russell Wilson have.
Apparently, he wasn't driving the cart. He was passenger status in the cart, for what it's worth, although I have seen a few conflicting things on that. But who cares? Who is the most authoritative reporter on a tweet of a overturned golf cart? Pardon me. It's like we don't need to go running and searching and digging too hard for the ultimate veracity, whether he was driving or not. Crap happens on the golf course, Zack. It's we probably wouldn't even be talking about it on this show. I probably wouldn't have even written about it on the website today if there was anything happening newsworthy. But that's just where we're at right now is, it's mostly rumors as we're getting geared up for the NFL draft. And Jerry Jeudy, too. Jerry Jeudy talking about changing that number.
Yeah, I feel like if this wasn't April 17th, if this was like August 17th, the Russell Wilson thing would have been a non-story for us. But the critics are still going to, attack Russ and add it to the high knees and the let's ride and this and that. If this was Patrick Mahomes, Chad, for example, whose golf cart flipped over, you would not hear anything negative about it. If anything, you'd hear a joke like, oh, even he can conquer a flipped over golf cart. But because it's Russell Wilson, then it becomes an issue. In terms of Jerry Jeudy, want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah.
Hey, David, real
no,
fast.
Let's do it real quick, and then we'll grab Dave.
Pretty simple. Another non-story that's only off-season fodder. Jerry Jeudy tweeted that he wants number 4 back, jersey number 4, which is what he wore at Alabama. He said he won't pay for it, though. And I looked into it. There's no number 4 on the roster any longer because that belonged to Brett Rippon, who's a free agent. But players who want to switch jersey numbers have to buy out the remaining inventory of the previous number. And apparently Jerry Jeudy, with his millions, does not want to do that.
If it's that important to you, you pay it, especially when you are making that. I mean, I guess it depends on how much it is. I don't know. In the grand scheme of things. David, brother, the Papa Bear, jumping in early with a super chat, helping us keep the lights on a kind of quiet Monday night. Thank you, David. He says, good evening, Broncos country. Chad, Zach, Dylan, Deacon, Scott. What has Wilson done this time? Hashtag Buckham times 4. MHH for life, Denver Rocks for life. Love you, big dog. Thank you, David. But yeah, it depends, Zach, on context. All right, so like if I'm making, 5 for Jerry Jeudy, what he takes home, maybe $2 or $3 million. All right, in a year, that doesn't count, any possible endorsements or anything like that. As a former top 15 pick, still on his rookie contract, and it were say to cost me $50,000 to buy out that inventory. Even making the kind of money I'm making, if I'm Jerry Jeudy, I'd probably say, nah. Like my grandma would probably tell me, are you crazy? Now, if it's $5,000, if it's $10,000 even, I could even say if it's like $15,000 and I got my ideal jersey, I'd probably pay that if I was making that kind of money. But that's just me.
Yeah, same. I mean, if I wanted it that bad and Jerry Jeudy does apparently, then I would pony up the money. But like I wrote in the story today, maybe it's one of the new off-season additions got number 4, and we don't know about that yet, and he doesn't want to pay the money to swap jerseys with that player. To David's comment, though, what did Russ do now? I could speak for myself. I've done way stupider crap on the golf course than Russell Wilson did, being a passenger whose golf cart kind of semi-tipped over. So it's a non-story. He didn't do anything wrong, though I guarantee you guys will be hearing about this next time the Russell Wilson hit piece comes out, which is inevitable.
Yep, crisis averted, thankfully. Nothing hurt on Russ except maybe a little bit of his pride now that it's public. A few hellos in the chat tonight. Everybody jumping in early. I see that Rob Khalifa, David Youngkin, Michaela Israel in the house. We got Dylan reminding everybody, hit the thumbs up while you're here with us, especially on YouTube and Facebook. Guys, please do not forget to do that. Helps us out so much. Thanks for the reminder, as always, Dylan. But in the interest of giving some love to the first comment in the chat tonight, Jesse Hilborn says, I don't know about y'all, but I would love, Zach, to see Budda Baker be a Bronco. Disgruntled, wants out of his current situation. In a perfect world, Zach, if this was just like any other calendar year as far as draft picks and whatnot, the Broncos weren't missing a 1 and a 2, maybe I'd be a little bit more amenable to the idea. But, like, what do they have to trade with right now? Like, what do they have that's going to perk up that team's ears on a Budda Baker trade?
I mean, they can throw in Cortland Sutton, but even then, Arizona would want a high-round pick back in return. And, of course, we'd all want Budda Baker, but he'd be a luxury for a team that really can't afford that right now. Maybe next year, in year 2 of Sean Payton, they can swing for the fences a little longer, but they needed to address the offensive line, and they still have work to do there. They need some backups. They need a center. They need edge. They need defensive line help. I ask myself this question when a trade candidate pops up. Do the Broncos need this player, or do the Broncos want this player? And if they want this player, it's not worth selling the farm for.
It comes back to how you can't have all pros and Pro Bowlers at every single spot. Mike, bro, love you so much. The support you've been showing us for the entire time that you've been in our community is at the tippity top. There's a reason you're a Mount Rushmore member of our community. So thank you, brother. It's great to see you tonight. Zach, the idea of what's left, what holes are really left as far as urgent roster situations that need to be addressed in a perfect world for the Denver Broncos. Pro Football Focus, Bob Morris had the write-up for us on this. They put out the biggest remaining roster needs for each of the 32 teams. And then they categorized it 2 different ways. There's remaining starter needs. So in other words, how many starter holes are you maybe missing or do you have? And then remaining depth needs. So here's how they classified it. And then I want your thoughts on this. Remaining starter needs, according to Pro Football Focus, for your Denver Broncos, cornerback, safety. Remaining depth needs, center, linebacker. Doesn't really make mention of, are we talking edge? Are we talking inside guys? So once again, they kind of missed the forest for the trees. There is some a big need at safety as far as you don't have a proven guy to start next to Justin Simmons, but you do have a guy who could perhaps, if he comes back from that injury, and Caden Stearns, be something. But to not mention edge rusher anywhere in that, for me, I'm going, you missed the mark again, PFF.
Yeah, again, it's another cursory analysis of the Broncos roster, very vague, and they see that Damari Mathis is the starter right now opposite Surtain. They say that's a hole. I say Mathis could be the starter. I'm very high on him. They see Caden Stearns opposite Simmons, and they think the Broncos need a starter. I'm very high, as are you, Chad, on Caden Stearns. They don't need Budda Baker, and Budda supposedly wants to be among the highest paid safeties in the NFL. Can you afford realistically to have 2 of the higher paid safeties, 2 players at a non-premium position taking up so much salary cap space? I cannot envision that.
In a perfect world, you'd love to see it, but football, if nothing else, is not played in a perfect world. The Duchess jumping in. Michaela, love you. Appreciate you. Still keeping her brand spanking new Tim Patrick jersey in the profile pic on YouTube. Love it. She says, I was in my early 20s. We were racing golf carts. I got mine stuck on a sidewalk ledge. So what? LOL. Boring. I know. It's I don't know, Zach. What do you think was a more newsworthy storyline? And then we'll grab Gary. Russ as a passenger having a golf cart turnover into a bunker, or Drew Lock coming inches from perhaps losing his life driving down the freaking highway, I should say, between Denver and Kansas City. And what was it? That some kind of road debris came flying through the air and into his windshield. I don't even remember what it was. Do you remember? Was it a
rock,
tire?
I feel like.
What was it?
I feel like it was a rock.
No. It was no. It was something from a vehicle ahead of him.
Was it?
That it had fallen off. Anyway, but
Scott's saying retread tire. That probably tracks. So
Gary Palmer, bro, love you, the swashbuckler. Thank you, very generous super chat. He says, "Hey Chad, Zach, and Scott, we are caught in the doldrums between the end of free agency and the draft, so anything is up for clickbait. Go Broncos, MHH for life." Yeah. We ain't seen nothing yet, though. As bad as this might feel at times, where we don't have like the most compelling storylines in the moment. It doesn't hold a candle to middle of June till the end of July. That's the true NFL desert where there's nothing to look forward to except training camp. All of the big events that garner speculation, rumor, and all this, the draft, free agency, all that hiring cycles, that's all in the books. It's the NFL desert. That's my least favorite stretch, Zach, on the calendar.
But Michaela was emphasizing something I said earlier. We've all done stupid things on the golf course. Most of us have anyway. You're out there in the heat, you're swinging clubs, you're driving a freaking golf cart around having fun. I mean, it just comes with the territory. If this was not Russell Wilson, it would not be a story. But because it is, you have a guy like 100 yards away with binoculars and a smartphone trying to take a blurry picture of Russell Wilson as a passenger of a golf cart that wasn't even seriously injured. But that comes with the territory nowadays.
No kidding. It makes you wonder who actually took that. But I want to see real quick. And guys, I have to do this on my phone, so don't think I'm not engaged in what's happening. I have to search right now on my phone because StreamYard is being lame. But the Drew Lock thing, Zach. Drew Lock highway accident, maybe I'll just put. Because I know we covered it when it came out. Yeah, here it is. Look. Broncos quarterback Drew Lock narrowly avoids disaster on Kansas highway. Let me see. What was it? Massive lug nut flew off a tire and careened into those signal caller's windshield. Yeah, that'll put you in a start. If you're just like vibing out, you've been in the car for hours or whatever, you're jamming to your tunes, or maybe you're listening to a podcast or an audiobook and all of a sudden your windshield just like shatters or like, something comes through it. Yeah, that'll make you pucker up a little bit.
That's some Final Destination stuff right now. I know you do the same thing, Chad. When you see a big truck on the highway towing logs, that you think of that scene. So I'm happy Drew Lock wasn't injured. But if we had to rate the stories in terms of newsworthiness, well, he almost got injured, I guess. So that one takes the cake.
Yes. Okay, let's see here real quick. I'm going to star this comment. We have a really cool this feature, Zach, that is available now on StreamYard, where remember in the old days when we first started doing this and the stream would jump, and if we didn't get to a super chat or a comment in time and we tried to scroll back up, you couldn't get back to it. And they've been rolling out different different updates and things. I like this where you can star certain comments and come back to it, and it just puts it in its own little file. Very, very convenient. I'm just reading some of these comments. It's cracking me up a little bit. Okay, Lawrence wants to have a little bit of a more serious conversation on this. What up, guys? Hear me out. What if it was Russell and it's his eyes? They aren't what they used to be. I mean, Zach, you'd have to be pretty dang visually challenged to miss a bunker. Like if the reason you didn't see the bunker is you like literally the world is so blurry you couldn't see it, then yeah, you're not probably playing quarterback in the NFL. But he wasn't driving A from what we understand, and B, even if he was, Zach, it smacks more of what we know of the context of what happened. It was more of a guy kind of like not realizing how close they were to the bunker and just being a little too loosey-goosey and, fell in.
You mentioned I was going to say he wasn't driving, and even if he was, again, these things happen. If it wasn't Russ, it wouldn't really matter on a national scale. And his eyes look pretty good to me, Chad, the last couple games of the year last year. So I don't think that's a concern, Lawrence.
Big Earn in the house. Great to see you tonight, every night it is, my friend. And he's always very clear to emphasize of late. Go Broncos country only. That's it. That's all who gets the goes, and we love it. Thank you, bro. Let's grab this from Leroy, one of our most loyal listeners on Facebook, dating back years and years and years, brother. Hope you're doing well. He says, hey, guys, what's going on? What about the kid from Iowa, Riley Moss? I've seen his highlights. Lots of range, can play all positions at defensive back. What do you guys think? And then, of course, the mile-high salute. So, Zach, based on the mock draft database, he is projected as the 116th, basically, best player in the class. So that puts him as like a fourth-round pick. 6'1", 195, runs a 4.45 40, 39-inch vertical. Did compete at the Senior Bowl. Seems like a decent glue guy, and surprisingly athletic and for what you might think. For what it's worth. So what are your thoughts on the idea of this kid? I mean, maybe in the fourth round, would you want to see a Riley Moss land in Denver?
I'm cracking up at Scott's comparison, the comment that he made. I won't mention it, but it's pretty apt. I'll say that. As a fourth round pick, I have no problem with it. You know, to PFF's credit, I guess the Broncos do need another quarterback, and I don't know that I would use a third to address that position, but in the fourth round, hell yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, I like the idea. I'd be curious to hear what Nick thinks of him, though, as an Iowa kid. So Nick probably has the entire Bible on this dude. Jeff, good to see you, brother. Speaking of longtime members of our community and listeners, Jeff's been with us since the very beginning of us doing the podcast as a live stream. Great to see you, bro. Thank you for the super. He says maybe Peyton is going to bridge the gap, pun intended, from a horrible team to a good team. Well, we're hoping, bro. We're hoping. I think so. And he's talking, of course, about Sean Payton here. Obviously there is quite a gap to be bridged, Zach, in terms of, you're coming off a 5-win season and you were nowhere close to being playoff relevant, let alone an actually competitive football team. It is a gap that needs to be bridged, but I keep thinking about what Terrell Davis said in that quote to Chris Thomason of the Denver Gazette, which is, I'll paraphrase, the Broncos needed to hire someone who didn't have to think about what to do to fix things, but knew exactly what it would take to fix things. And that's, I think, Sean Payton. So I'm not too worried. I think that gap is going to get bridged.
The beauty nowadays is it doesn't take 3 years anymore to rebuild or reload in the NFL. You can do it in one calendar year. And if the Lions can be a competitive team under Dan Campbell, if they can turn around their culture and start winning, I think the Broncos can get back to that as well. Good is subjective. I mean, good to some people might be a 12, 13-win season. Others it might be 8 or 9 wins, but we can all agree they should have more wins than losses this year under Sean Payton. That's what's exciting.
I'm looking at there's a few interesting comments. I want to grab this question from Junior Caprone, I think, or it might be JR. I don't know. But either way, brother, thank you for being with us. Are we really okay with who we have at running back after Samaje Perine? I have no clue as to why the Broncos haven't re-signed Latavius Murray. It's a good question why. It's hard to fathom considering that it does seem to lack, as a depth chart, some proven production. The only thing I can fathom, Zach, is wherever Murray is at in his level of, at this point in his career, Sean Payton thinks that he'll probably be available if they really want him, halfway through training camp if they don't like the way things are shaping up at running back.
I don't think it's a money thing. I don't think Latavius is asking for too much. I think he would settle for a 1-year deal. It screams to me that the Broncos feel they can go younger, cheaper, higher upside with a draft pick. And they've worked out several running backs. They've met with several running backs in the pre-draft process. And it's fait accompli to me at this point that they will emerge from the draft with at least one more guy in that backfield. Or the other optimistic stance to take here is that the Broncos are genuinely confident that Javonte will return to form sooner and not later.
I hope so, man. I mean, we're trying to be as cautiously optimistic as possible, but if you want to lean into that optimism, Zach, one thing that we do know about Javonte Williams is that he is a very unique individual. Was a great student, very hard worker, very driven, very focused, great IQ. This is a guy who, if you anything he puts his mind to, he's going to master. So if there is a guy that you could maybe bet on to return from that grievous of an injury sooner than you might expect, perhaps it is Javonte.
I think he could do it. It might be a case where he starts slowly, maybe on PUP, but he will get back at some point, and I have hope that we'll see the pre-injury Javante. But in the meantime, Samaje Perine can hold it down as the workhorse. You have Tony Jones. You have players like Tyler Batty and Demarie Crockett, Tyreek McAllister. You add in the draft pick to that, then that's a decent stable until Williams is 100%.
Keith, brother, appreciate you being with us tonight. He says Broncos brought in Chandler Zavala and Garrett Williams on private visits. What are your thoughts? Look, you've got a. How big of an issue, Zach, is cornerback? Because you've got top three. Your top three on the depth chart is more than decent. For whatever experience Damari Mathis is lacking on the resume, I think that is offset and then some by not only having an all-pro in Patrick Surtain, who's going only into his third year, but also a savvy veteran nickel like K'Wan Williams. I really like that top three on the cornerback depth chart. Garrett Williams, hey, if you want him, you probably have to take him at 67 or 68. I wouldn't hate it. I don't think cornerback it's a depth issue. I don't think it's as extreme as, say, who's there that's a rush linebacker and who's there that could play center for you if you needed him to. But I don't hate the idea of Garrett Williams. And as far as Zavala, he's kind of trending, Scott, fourth round, something like that. Interior guy, probably more of a guard. Maybe he could be viewed as a center. I don't know. But what are your thoughts, Zach?
I've tried to keep up on the Broncos pre-draft visits by writing about each and every one, as as tedious a process as that can be. I didn't write up Williams, though I do like the fact that he can play cornerback and safety. So you're getting some versatility for Vance Joseph if you do take him, though I agree with you. The third round might be a little too early for my blood, so to speak. I did write up Zavala, though, and what I like about him, he might be a later round, late round prospect, but he played 422 pass blocking snaps last year. He allowed no sacks and one quarterback hit. He's 6'5", 325. There's some there that you can mold under Peyton and Zach Strief. And my God, Deanna.
Holy smokes. What just happened?
I'm already taking my hat off just preemptively.
You wanted to see Lady D. This is obviously a subliminal message that you want to see this ball dome because it's hats off. Hats off. You see the shine on that? Holy smokes. Lady D in the 500 club, it's a slobber knocker. It literally stops you in your tracks when you see that and you're broadcasting live. So freaking generous. I don't even know what to say other than, especially this time of year, believe it when we say that really, really helps us out. All three of us that are in this room right now, let alone all the dudes at MHH. So Lady D, love you so much. She says, just starting your week out right with a max level, literally, it's the max level individual super chat that puts her in rarefied air. Thank you so much, Lady D. Seriously, I don't know what to tell you other than, Zach, she's in the streams every night. She's throwing down supers. She's buying Bridge the Gap CDs and merch, and she's listening to the tunes. I don't know. We're very grateful and very fortunate and very blessed to have you with us, Lady D. Love you.
There are no words that can really summarize. Chad tried beautifully there. I echo what he said, but there's no words, Deanna, to summarize your generosity. I was thinking while Chad was talking, kind of was zoning out because I was thinking, we got to do something for this level of appreciation. Maybe like a 500 club pin or something. There's got to be something we can do to show our
good idea.
support.
Or even like a T-shirt.
Anything.
That we, because we have control over that with our merch store. We can make individualized. We have a graphics guy that does designs for us. We can say, hey, come up with something for Mount Rushmore people or 500 club people, 200 club people. And when that comes in, boom, that goes out as like a thank you and as like a, you know, keepsake memorabilia type thing to commemorate.
I'll make it myself. It's the least we can do.
That's a good idea, dude. We should do something like that. Holy smokes, Lady D, love you so much.
Thank you, Deanna.
Hope you're doing well. Hope it's warming up decently up there in Alaska. But seriously, thank you so much.
I'm looking over the comments as well, and just the fact that it makes other people happy when someone is so generous. This community, straight up, we talk about it on air, off air. Y'all are the best, including you, Deanna, especially you, Deanna. Thank you so much.
Love it. Love you so much. David jumping in again, number 2 super chat tonight. Judas Priest.
Another pin going out.
Oh my goodness, yes. David, though, says Nick would have the encyclopedia on anyone from Iowa, and this is true. It's his alma mater. It's Iowa kid. Plus, I mean, Nick's basically a walking encyclopedia for all things football. I mean, college to the pros. His favorite thing, as you guys probably know, is just the NFL draft and all that. But when I first found Nick, he was a commenter on Facebook. He just kept commenting on our Facebook posts, and he obviously knew what he was talking about. So finally, I like tried to find him, and I friended him. Like, accept my request. He accepted. I'm like, dude, you want to come write? He's like, I don't know about writing so much, but I'd be down to do a podcast, especially right now. It was like January. He's like, I want to do the draft. I'm like, let's go. And the rest is history. But yeah, Nick knows a thing or two about Iowa, for sure.
When we have the MHH roundtable pre-draft, we'll be sure to ask him about the all the Iowa prospects for the Broncos.
We have another just insanely generous, supportive show here from the Duchess, and it's already her second super chat, and it's 400 club, but she's in the 500 club. So we have to do this idea. This is a really good idea. I will make sure, Zach and I will make sure when we get off tonight's stream, we'll confer and come up with some good ideas. But we're on to something with this. This is cool. Michaela, love you so much. Seriously. I don't know what we'd do without the great ladies of MHH, and especially our Mount Rushmore superstar. She says, not to be outdone, LOL. Just kidding. Keep up the awesome work. Hey, we're trying hard. I promise you that. And you know what? It doesn't even feel like work. And that's how you know when you really are #blessed, when you know what you do to every day, when you quote unquote, Zach, I guess, punch the clock, for lack of a better term. If it doesn't feel like work, then you've done something you've done something right. Let me just put it that way. You're on the right path. It's a synchronicity key. But the only danger in that, I'll tell you this, is when it doesn't feel like work, it's really easy to go overboard. So like myself, Zach, as a family man, it's really easy to just sit in my office and write and blog and podcast and make videos all day long and forget sometimes, I'm being honest here, sometimes, got to go spend time, with the kids. Got to go do this with the kids. Make sure, you're not getting too carried away, because it's so fun. I mean, this is so fun. And the fact that we have people in our community that would support us financially like this, on top of everything that we do with this site, it just means the world to us. So thank you, Michaela. Love you.
Yeah, those who were with us, Chad, know that what they're getting into, it's a year-round business, but we're so blessed each and every day, and it's because of people like you, Michaela. You will never be outdone. And I want to say this, and I mean this genuinely, we cannot tell the story of the MHH podcast without you, without Deanna, without so many of our integral members. So thank you. Nothing more to be said. Thank you so much.
That's true. When you talk about like the MHH Hall of Fame, right? Like, can you tell the story of the MHH without mentioning X figure, Z figure? Michaela would definitely have to be mentioned. Like, you couldn't tell the story without. Lady D have to be mentioned. This cat, who we're going to have on the show Thursday night, by the way, stoked, Naj Al-Taf, who is a living legend and a complete force of nature. Bro, thank you. Great to see you. We're stoked to talk with you in just a couple of days. He says, hey, brothers, is there any word on voluntary minicamp participation? Are you aware of any players not there? Not aware of anyone no-showing. I think everyone's a little bit... Look, there's no Melvin Gordons here to set a bad example this time around. And I think everyone, Zach, is a little bit, I wouldn't say on eggshells, but everyone, after what's happened lately and the cult of personality in a good way that is coming in Sean Payton. Nobody wants to get off on the wrong foot with him.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you have any sort of professionalism, if you have any sort of pride, if you conduct yourself the right way, you want to make a good first impression. You don't want to no show. You don't want to go to the media and say, "Well, I wasn't there because it's optional. It's not mandatory," like Melvin Gordon did last year. So we haven't heard of any no shows. I don't believe there will be, and there will not be a on field minicamp though until May 25th. I think it is, Chad, when the Broncos start phase 2 of the program.
Yes, and or the 23rd, somewhere around there, and that's when we can expect Zach to hopefully get a little media love, or at least maybe a better way to put it is maybe that's when Sean Payton will end the media blackout because by NFL rule, I believe on that stretch, media does get access. Mike, bro, so generous. The stars you just threw down on Facebook. I got to tell you again, once look. We're so grateful. We're so lucky. And, I mean, beyond just the stars and support you show, you're helping us in the conversation every night, keeping it going. You continue that when we hit end broadcast. You're there on Twitter, and you're commenting on every story on Facebook. So, bro, love you, dude. Seriously. We are so grateful to everybody in the chat right now. Thank you.
Another person who we can't tell the story without, Michael, every single night, every single podcast, he's going on Twitter and showing us support, saying great show, and just being a great person overall. So thank you so much, Michael.
Come to the meet and greet. We don't have the date yet. As soon as the schedule comes out within the next podcast, whenever the date is, or whatever the schedule is, when it comes out, the very next MHH podcast, we will have a date for the meet and greet. And Mike, you should come. Lady D, if you can make it, you should come. It would be so cool to hang out. But yeah, it's a month from today. Scott's reminding me when we'll get the schedule. So we still have a little bit of time left, but just basically kind of, I know it's a little nebulous. It's a little bit too big of a window, but if you just look at like the second half of September as kind of a target window, that's probably where it's going to be, where it's going to fall.
Yeah, probably like week 3, week 4. So sometime in that time frame. We'll know, like Scott said, in about a month.
Just quick shout out, Patrick. Really good to see you, buddy. Aloha, right back at you. Appreciate your support for all the shows.
Love your coffee.
Yes, sir. Okay, so let me jump in and see if a couple of the comments I started. Let's grab this one from Ian. Okay. Appreciate you, Ian, being with us on Facebook, my friend. Zach, he says, are the rumors true that the Broncos might go after, I assume, Dalvin Cook if he is released? Is that who he's talking about? That's got to be who he's talking about, right, with the rumors. So I haven't heard that the Broncos might go after him. Yeah. I haven't heard anything that like really links Denver to Dalvin Cook. Because I know that if there were anything, even a rumor, we would have written it up. We'd be on that stuff. I almost cursed. So believe that, my dog. But what do you think? Would the Broncos be interested though if he were to get released?
I wanted that to happen so bad, Chad. You were so close, and no cigar. The only rumor, if you can call it that, is someone like a random person from Bleacher Report linking Cook to the Broncos as a potential destination. I have not heard anything concrete, and the only reason why this is even a possibility is because of the George Payton connection and the Broncos needing, so to speak, a running back to help out the backfield. But I don't see it materializing. He's going on, I think, 28 or 29. He would want to be compensated, I think, more than the Broncos can pay him after paying Samaje Perine. I wouldn't look for that to happen.
And this is why I hold my tongue on, even when like maybe I have a brief lapse and I'm on the brink of maybe saying something I shouldn't. I don't, because dollars to donuts right now that Michaela's watching this. Her son, her young son is watching this. Coop, shout out. And I know other people in our community who watch these pods. They put it up in their living rooms, while they're getting dinner ready or whatever. And so we want to keep this a family-friendly show. So for what it's worth, Michaela, love you. She says, I'll be at the meet and greet. Hope everyone comes. You guys rock. Girl power indeed. The ladies of MHH reign supreme, for sure.
I'd be hard-pressed to find another podcast, especially a sports podcast, Broncos podcast, that has that demographic down like we do. We are entirely grateful for every wonderful female viewer that we have.
Michaela jumping in again, the Duchess, to say, have a segment with us ladies in face paint, ladies of the gridiron. Maybe what we do is at the meet and greet, you come prepared with the faces already painted up, and we just like get crazy with a fun segment. We can either shoot like separate video content that we upload later, Zach, do live stuff. We'll see. There's a lot of different possibilities. And the first couple of meet and greets that we've done, we learned a lot from them in terms of where to focus our creative energies, what works, what makes sense in these situations. And so there's definitely, Zach, I think, room for more content, because once we get there and we get set up, people start showing up, and we meet people, we hang out, we chit chat, we give merch away, we sign a thing or two here or there, we eat, we have a few drinks, whatever. There's plenty of room, there's plenty of space in there for some additional content ideas. So this is not a bad one. This is a good idea.
We know how to skate security, stadium security as well, Chad. We learned that the first time.
That's right.
But Michaela's been there both times, and she's made it great. So we look forward to doing it. It's truly one of the times I look forward to every year, just meeting everyone and interacting as a community face to face.
Naj saying with another very generous super chat.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Naj.
bro. He says, brothers, I get Budda Baker is a luxury, but for Caden and a third-round pick, would you pull the trigger knowing how well he already fits, right, in Vance's system? I would do that trade. Honestly, I probably would do that trade if that's what all it took to get him was Caden Stearns and a third-rounder. Knowing I still have a third-rounder this year, and I get one of my starting spots is solved, right, next to Justin Simmons, I would make that trade, but I don't think the Cardinals would make that trade necessarily. What do you think, Zach?
It comes down to, do you want to pay two safeties top market money at a non-premium position?
True.
And if you acquire Budda Baker, you're pretty much saying that Justin Simmons is on borrowed time. I don't think he's earned that deal, quite frankly, Chad. I think he's a tad overrated, but Budda Baker is a playmaker. I wouldn't mind having him, but that's what a luxury is. You don't need him. You would want him. I'd rather that third-round pick go toward a center, which the Broncos actually need.
Yes. And that's really what the crux of his discontent is right now, right, Zach, is he wants to get paid. So, yeah, you can't have all pros at every single spot in your starting lineup. It would be really cool to see, but that level of resource, whether it's a new contract or whatever capital you have to give up to get him, etc., probably at this stage, because you do have in one of those two safety spots already, Zach, an all-pro, probably should put that level of resource into one of the other positions that doesn't have that good of support or, solved as far as the starting lineup's concerned.
If you had just Stearns or just Simmons, I would make this trade in a freaking heartbeat. Obviously, Caden wouldn't be part of it, but you already have a star safety. You have a star cornerback. You have a couple of young players that you're confident in, like Caden Stearns, like Damari Mathis. It's not a pressing need, and the Broncos need to allocate what little resources they have to needs.
Scott's reminding, he says, Baker has 2 years left on his deal at big money. Arizona just sucks. Yeah, they do. They do. Naj, can't wait to hang, dude, and talk on Thursday night. It's going to be so fun. I just found one here. Robot of Doom. We always try to get at least one Twitch comment question per stream. And he wants to know, Zach, do the Broncos start the season at home or away? You got your crystal ball. What do you think?
There's that scuttlebutt that they can open the season at Kansas City on Thursday night, though I think that's a little unlikely. I think they're going to get a home game this year to start out the year, only because you have Sean Payton. I think you want his debut to be as impactful as possible for the product and integrity of the NFL. So my guess, I could be wrong, my guess is they will open up at home this year.
And yes, Robot, you should come, bro. He says, I want to go to the meet and greet. I want to go this year to the meet and greet, but last year I couldn't. Got to have the Twitch squad represent. It would be so cool to see you, my friend, and meet you in the flesh. See, Cooper watching. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Last year, the Broncos opened on the road, Seattle. More often than not, schedule makers seem to favor the Broncos in my mind's eye. I could be totally wrong on this if you were to pull up and look at the schedule the last few years, but it seems like more often than not, they like to give Denver a home opener. Like literally, the opening of the season is a home game. So if I were to bet right now, I would bet that they were going to be at home, especially with Sean Payton and the media scrutiny that's going to come with him being the coach. That first game, they want to set that stage as perfectly as possible. Callie on Green, new scoreboard. Exactly. They got to flex the new video board, which, is the first in a $100 million investment to upgrade stadium infrastructure.
I think the NFL is better when the Broncos are good. So the NFL should want to make the Broncos good, and part of that, I think, is having them open up at home, preferably against a weaker opponent to start off 1-0 and kick off the Peyton era the right way.
Keith, you could send this to me. Well, let's see. One guy wrote an article naming Denver as a potential landing spot.
That's 100% Bleacher Report. I saw the same thing.
Okay, okay, all right. If that's what it is, then yeah. Okay, guys, we're at 40 minutes, so we're getting close. Any burning topics on your mind, get them in the chat because we'll probably keep tonight relatively tight. Thank you, Keith, for supporting Bridge the Gap. Album is awesome. He says that B-side is mind-blowing. There's been a few people that say the second half is better than the first, which is a surprise to us and the record label because usually, you front load the album, so to speak. You want to try and put what you think are the best songs on the first side. So that's very cool for us to hear. Ian, is Marcus Peters still out there? If he is, would he be cheap? What's the latest on Peters? The last time we talked about him, he was available. It's been a minute since I've checked on his status, though.
I'm doing the same research that everyone else is. I looked it up on Google, and it says that he's a free agent still and unsigned. So that would lead me to believe that maybe the NFL knows something we don't about Marcus Peters. I think he's a little on the wash side, and the Broncos might want to go younger and cheaper by getting a corner through the draft.
Keith, you demand, dude. Glad you like the red vinyl. Todd Ostendorf. When was the last who's so consistent for what it's worth? I got to give Todd some props right here. Every single night, keeping the conversation going. We don't always get to him in the chats, depending on how busy it is with supers. But Todd, love you, big dog. When's the last time the Broncos had more than 2 Pro Bowlers in a season, right? Without pulling it up and looking at it in front of me, mind's eye, more than 2. I'm going to guess it was 2016, but I could be wrong on that. 2016. So that would have been Chris Harris, Aqib Talib Pro Bowls, Von Miller Pro Bowl. So there's 3 already. Trying to think from that 6, maybe Emmanuel Sanders. Both DT and Sanders got over 1,000 that year. Was that the year? No, CJ was a 2014. If I recall, was he a 2014 Pro Bowler? Yeah, 2014 Pro Bowler. I think. See, normally I would be just cruising right now on my research sites while I'm talking and have this information in real time. But the browser stuff, when I try to open up another tab lately on StreamYard, even though I have literally the best internet you can get, something is wonky with that. But I think 2016. I can do some research on it real quick, though.
Yeah, I'm on Pro Football Reference. I'm trying to narrow down the list. I think it's 2016. It might be not 2017. I think it's 2016. You had DT and you had Vaughn from what I see on this list. So.
Hold on, Denver Broncos.
And Pro Bowl. I think that's it. Oh, 2018, they had Casey Kreider and Philip Lindsay.
2, but more than 2. Was there Vaughn had to have been a Pro Bowl. Yeah. So
and
there
Chris
you go.
Harris.
But yeah, so there you go. So it was actually 2018. There you go. Hey, didn't have to go back maybe as far as we thought. Good to see you, Nick, in the house. What's up, big dog? Okay. I'm just scrolling through toward the end here of the chat. Make sure Nick says, by the way, while we're looking here, to get the guys in shape before any football he says, what did he say before? I love Peyton's approach to get the guys in shape before any football takes place. I'm banking on this paying off if we make the playoffs to be in shape. He's definitely exposing them, Zach, to the resistance. You have to. You got to toughen them up one way or another, and you got to find the best way to do that, the smartest way to do that without cutting off your nose to spite your face, so to speak, and he knows a thing or two about it. Been doing it for 15 years as a head coach to mostly good success.
Yeah, he also realized when he came in how badly the Broncos were injury ruined last year, and it's been a continuing theme. And in one offseason, in just a few months, in fact, Sean Payton did what the Broncos couldn't in like 6 or 7 years, and that's overhaul their entire strength and conditioning department and nutrition and sports science, hiring Bo Larry and Dal Rimple to lead the charge there. And he says, I don't care that we have anything scheduled. We're doing things my way. We're going to run a little longer. We're going to lift a little longer. We're going to train a little longer. Is that what should kind of crystallize them for the regular season? I love the approach.
It'll be awesome, Lady D, if you can make it to the meet and greet. So we very much would look forward to that. Mike throwing down more stars as punctuation to tonight's conversation, which has been a really fun chat tonight. So love you guys. Thank you. With that, though, we're going to sign off for tonight, but don't leave quite yet. A couple of messages.
That was the MHH. I'm still tongue-tied by the amount of generosity we were shown tonight. Thank you so much, guys and gals. If you want to follow us on Twitter, if you're not doing so already, follow us at the MHH Pod, the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. You guys want some Bucka merch or hats, shirts, anything that we're offering, that we're wearing, we're showing off at mhhmerch.com. Check it out. And if you haven't, go to facebook.com/milehighhuddlepod. Be sure you're liking that page and following that page. If you're on IG, follow us at mile_high_huddle. And if you haven't, go to Apple Podcasts and leave your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some of that merch each and every single month. But if anything, please heed my call. Subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
Shout out to these great Super Chat superstars and supporters tonight, starting with Michaela, the Duchess, Lady D, Deanna Hendry, and let's keep it with the ladies, Michaela Israel as well. Naj, bro, love you. Can't wait. Guys, Thursday night, set your watch to this, all right? Put it on your calendars. Naj Altaf on the show. It's going to be dope on the 20th of April. I don't know why such an upstanding straight-laced legend though he may be, Zach, guy like Naj wanted to come on the show on 420. I'm like, really, Naj? What's the numerical significance of this? I'm joking. Kind of. No, I really am joking. David McElrath, brother, thank you very much. Jeff, Gary Palmer, making sure I'm not missing anybody on YouTube. And then on Facebook, Michael Ronquillo going off. Love you, bro. Lawrence Rivera, Keith Brugman, much love and respect, everybody. Can't wait to talk with you guys along with Naj Thursday night this week, but don't forget Tuesday morning, Broncos for breakfast, building the Broncos. Lots of content to come from MHH between now and then.
Another special shout out for me, from Chad, from Scott, to Michaela, and also from Deanna as well. Thank you again. And Todd, really quickly, he's still in the Army, so thank you for your service, Todd. Definitely appreciate it. We always want to make sure we get that in there. So have a great night, guys. We'll see you Thursday night. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.